have all across 3 continents. And the only way we can afford it with our nonprofit budgets is because they really believe in our mission. Visionaries and experts on our board of directors and our team. Our first project, the inaugural production, is on the life and work of the iconic writer Bapsi Sidhwa. How many of you have ever heard of Bapsi or read of Bapsi? Okay, there's quite a few people who have, because I believe this is the community that Bapsi comes from. There are many rooms that I go and present at where there is not even one hand, and that is precisely why we are making these films. Bapsi opened South Asia to the rest of the world in a way that had not done before. We know iconic writers and individuals of Pakistan, brilliant minds, women like Shaista Ikramullah, who are probably my grandmother's age. They wrote in English, and they wrote about South Asia, and they wrote about culture. But Bapsi is from the minorities of the minority, and she wrote about, from a minority's perspective, the split of India and the recreation of 2 free nations. She is significantly iconic about sharing that in a community that's usually their DNA is to stay under the radar to the rest of the world. She is published all over the world by Milkweed Editions here, and Daunt Books in England, Actes Sud in France, and Neri Pozza in Italy, Oxford University Press in Pakistan, and Penguin India has been publishing her for 20 plus years. So this is what I mean by global impact. Our story and our narrative and our research is on the impact of writers and the influence of writers across the globe and the nuances of changes in readership in the new millennium. Let's bring Bapsi to life. Cut the lights. Can we cut the lights, please?
People are gifted in different ways. Some become marathon runners. Some become great actors. I couldn't act for the life of me. I tried once, but they said you're hopeless at it. But I was somehow gifted as a writer. And your whole being tells you what your passion is.
Bapsi, she's so great.
Bapsi Sidhwa is American.
Books like The Crow Eaters and American Brat just make you laugh out loud. Cracking India can break your heart. Just brilliant. I mean, she told it from the point of view of a young Parsi girl. It's, about the partition of India, which was a terrible moment.
It was the silences in my life that made me want to write. I was a very good listener. Because I didn't talk, I listened a lot. Now I've become a non-stop talker. My polio did not make me weak at any point. Well, I used to climb mountains. We had a house in Nathia Gali, and out there I used to go mountain hiking.
Her writing has always been a part of my life growing up, and eventually I have crept up into some of her stories.
When I started writing, I couldn't stay away from my story. Just get down to it. Write rubbish. If you want to fight with somebody, write that down and use swear words. Do what you want, but release it. I've had a very full life, and as long as I'm alive, I'll be writing.
The film will be an iconic retelling of her life story and cinematic pieces of her books, because the secret of her life is in her writings. We can actually keep the lights a bit lower. We can. I don't know if the audience knows the contributions of the Parsi community, the Zoroastrians, and their complete branding of excellence in whatever they take on. And this story is going to bring that minority and its values to life, and their contribution to really to South Asia. Also, the beautiful, fantastic affiliations of our writers back in Lahore and in the subcontinent. Deepa Mehta is a world-renowned director and producer of films based out of Toronto. And she has produced this very famous trilogy. Two of those films are based on Bapsi Sidhwa's books, Earth and Water, and they are brilliant, brilliant celebration of women and of women's role in the society. So why are we doing this? What makes me do this? Or what makes you become a partner for us to be doing this? The answer is what each and every one of us is facing currently in our homes, in our hearts, and in our minds. We are as divided as we have never been before. The walls have gone higher than ever before, and the less we know about each other, the more this xenophobia of the unknown and of the other will continue. Our policies, our economic decisions, everything is garnered and influenced by the known information of the other. 1% of the wealth is about 80 to 90% of the world population. How do we address this issue? How do we want the rest of the world to feel as comfortable and as hopeful as we are? The more we share media using film, perhaps the better will be informed and towards just societies. Yes, there is an urgency to do this. We should have begun yesterday. Our narratives are ours. We want to make our films, and we want to make films on others ourselves. We are equipped and we are ready. 2 minutes? Okay, so let me play this clip. Can you please play this clip? I'm playing this clip from the film Earth, which gives you a very good idea of, gives you a window about the minorities and their viewpoint about themselves in a larger community, because each one of us in some way is in a similar situation the moment we choose to migrate to other lands and to make new homes. What? You just press play. Yeah, there. It's not playing? Oh, okay. How is this going to happen? How are we going to make brilliant films, sterling productions which are going to stand on their own 2 feet, distributors to pick them up and to take them to larger world viewership? Any investment, any dollar that goes in, goes through millions of eyeballs. There is a fine line between the quality of the art of the production, the messaging, anything can sell, right? And what's selling right now, we all know what sells. And then the finances for it to be able to produce in the way it should be. These are our reference films. I don't know if any of you know Gloria Vanderbilt just passed away. If this wasn't done, we would not have had, we want to encapsulate time and history and share it with our next generation. I don't know how many of you have read Schiller, but our economic decisions are also made by the fact that we know who is following a certain trend and how many. Not because of an idea or a product is better, but what is the story or the narrative around it. How many of us know Sal Khan from Khan Academy? Oh, that's great. Well, I had the pleasure and the honor to be there. They hosted me last year. He loves our project. The idea of the children anywhere under a tree who cannot afford 2 square meals per day can watch films through a drone flying on their cell phones, which they save up for the rest of their lives. Can we play this? Or
Hi, I'm Sal Khan, founder of the Khan Academy. You might know our goal, we're not for profit, is to try to educate as many people as possible. And even though the reach is frankly far more than I would have expected 5 or 10 years ago, I'd be the last person to say that it constitutes a complete education. Yes, we can help students and teachers go through the mathematics, the science, history, humanities, but to get a full picture, to get a full education, it's really about understanding the world around us. And what I really like about Explore Their Stories is it takes a view of culture that you don't see as much as we should. Recently I've even been doing history videos, and I also fall into this. It's convenient if you're talking about a period of time to talk about the rulers, to talk about the wars, to talk about the big scientific discoveries. And all of those things are very important. But what really makes history happen, what really makes culture happen is a collection of the smaller stories. And what I really like about Explore Their Stories is that bringing those, and smaller is maybe not the right word, but the everyday stories, but everyday stories of fairly extraordinary people. Papsi Sidwa is a good example of this. Someone who had very difficult things. She overcame an incredible amount. And she achieved not just great literary writings, but the arc of her life is fascinating. It's something I think we can all relate to aspects of it and project our own selves onto it and help inform our own aspirations and how we think about the world. So I just encourage anyone to really support this effort. I think it'll add a lot of value for a lot of people.
we are at 50% of production and 70% of filming. The last piece of filming needs funds to be completed. I need each and every one of you to consider it as your own project. We have a benefit coming up 10th of October, Chicago. I really want you to be there. The invitation and the links are online on our Facebook page, and it is very easy to find us. So once again, please follow us. Join us on October 10th. Susana Mendoza is coming as the keynote. It's a beautiful lineup of speakers. This is a visionary, out-of-the-box program. It's away from the brick and mortar school, but trust me, this will work, and this will work for a very long time to come. Thank you.
What an amazing story. Thank you for your massive efforts and contributions to the overall community. The next person I would like to invite to the stage has traveled the farthest to be here with us today. He's come here from London. He has been the board member for several boards of Chinese and Japanese organizations. His work experience spans across continents. He's got a phenomenal resume, but today he's here to talk about his non-profit organization he founded 10 years ago. His mission is to fund education for brilliant Pakistani students who are unable to afford tuition themselves. His organization started with only 85 students and now is supporting a whopping 1,800 students in 2019. Please welcome Hafiz up on stage, and he's going to share his amazing journey and story with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? So I'm going to take you to a story which is partly personal and partly about the organization that we have talked about. So where do I start? So let me start with one of the very early experiences in life. It's back in 1972. I'm just 3 years in the job at Philips Electronics. I'm responsible for production, and every morning I'm grilled by my production manager about what's the production yesterday. And my discussion with him goes like this. Okay, how was the plan yesterday? 500. How much did you make? 495. Where are my 5 pieces? I said, well, yesterday there was a 2-hour power break. Where are my 5 pieces? Listen, we had 15% absenteeism. I don't care. Where are my 5 pieces? I'm just giving you a feeling how my boss was. I hated him. And then one day I got in a big discussion with him. And I said to him, his name was Mr. Baig, he's expired. He said, I said, what you are asking me to do is impossible. It is impossible. And do you know what he said? Yes, that's why I hired you. And I think this will resonate in this crowd because entrepreneurship is all about doing the impossible. And the story that I'm going to tell you today is also somewhat similar to that. The story is that we started this organization called Professional Education Foundation in 2009 with 75 students. Then we had this earthquake. We increased to 85 in the first year already. And then we went last year to 1,800 students, and inshallah this year we will do 2,200 students. How did we do that? That I will tell you. So the story starts at the end of the last century, year 2000. I was in Silicon Valley working after 32 years at Philips, having a great time. My family was having a great time. I got my best promotion, and I'm on top of my world. And I went to my mentor, and I said to him, congratulations, and thank you very much. And he said to me a sentence which I will never forget. He said to me, this is the time to recharge your batteries. And my God, he was true. Next year, internet bubble burst. Everything, market came crashing down. And in 2002, I had my first experience of being laid off after 33 years of working at a long company like Philips. But I am a very positive guy, I always look at the good things. So I kind of began to fantasize my retirement, right? I said, oh, good, I'll be retired, I'll have a great life. I even started talking to my friends. I said, yeah, we'll have a life of golf and relaxation. While I was getting excited and maybe even overexcited, I had a discussion with my wife. And I told her, this is it. And she said, well, she has a great capability of summarizing huge concepts into one small sentences. And she says, well, I don't particularly like the idea of double the husband at half the salary. Which basically meant go back to work, man. I was 56, and I think she was right. At the end of the day, they are always right. So I went to Hong Kong, and I started my consultancy in helping startup companies to commercialize and industrialize their technologies. As Dr. Mahmood said this morning, that many of the startups are started by technologists who are top of the world in that technology, but they are very bad business managers. And actually, I had an experience. And one claim that I can do is I fired a Nobel laureate. The story was that I was on a board of a startup, and the founder was a technologist. He was a great leader, great technologist, bad businessman, bad CEO, and he was bringing the company down. At the end of the day, people gathered around me and said, "Can you please give this message to the gentleman that he had to leave?" And then I took him to dinner and said to him, "You have to leave if you want to get this company going. And I will only help you if you leave." He left. 2 years later, he got a Nobel Prize. And I think this is, although a digression, but I think this also reaffirms the point. And I think also you entrepreneurs, please realize when you start a company as a technologist, you must move forward into a different direction once you go to that. Coming back to this story, so I was in Hong Kong, and while I was my own boss, I had some time to think about it. What did I achieve? What did I not achieve? And there were two things which came out on top of it on my mind. What were they? So one was that it was very clear for me that my becoming an engineer in 1968 changed my life and gave me economic security. I am quite sure that if I would not have become an engineer at that time, I would not be standing here. Second thing was that at the end of the day, I felt that I was made in Pakistan. Right or wrong, good or bad, whatever I achieved, it was because of the grooming I got in Pakistan. And that generated a feeling of maybe it's a time where you should think about what can you give back something. And I had great thoughts, but I had limited money. So what I did was I still didn't decide anything because I could not decide it. I just went back to Pakistan and spent 2-3 months talking to universities and many of the people there. And what I found was something very unique. I found that poverty is having a hand-to-hand fight against poverty. Brilliant people, brilliant students. They are having a hand-to-hand fight with poverty. They want to come out of it. Mothers, fathers want to come out of it. Thousands of talented students at the risk of losing their. So I had an idea that I would probably fund these students who have achieved something in their life, and they had, otherwise they may risk losing their future. However, I had limited resources. Now here is the innovation. What do you do when you have limited resources? Only so much I can do. And I started to think, what do I have? But I didn't realize that I had a treasure. And I was not making use of this treasure. You know what my treasure was? My friends. What did I use my friends for? Having a laugh? Going to golf? Playing cards? But I collected them and I said, hey, guys, we can do something together. And that turned out to be a big success. These were the people whom we got collected. And they said, yes, we will do it. And मैं थोड़ा सा उर्दू में कहूँगा, the moment they said yes, मैंने निकाह पढ़ा दिया. मैंने कहा ये मौका है, इसको छोड़ना नहीं चाहिए, मुकर ना जाए. I formed a trust, and the PEF was on. What was the purpose? Poverty alleviation. How? Through professional education. What do? We pick up the most able and the most poorest of the student, and we fund them for 4 to 5 years 100% education cost. And we give scholarship and loans. And we initially focused on undergrad degrees in engineering, medicine, IT, and business administration. Just imagine, these are top 5% of the students, because only 5% of the people get into the professional college on their own merit. Who are they? The per capita income of US is about $55,000. The per capita of Pakistan is around $1,400. All of my students come from families which have a per capita income of $500. And literally, we are talking about Masi, driver, chokidar, son and daughters. Why professional education? This is a question I get very, very often asked. Why? Because I look at it from an investment point of view. This is not charity. This is philanthropy and investment. And I can show it to you that it is the best result on investment, it is the fastest, and it is the surest. And you can touch it. This is one of the biggest problems in philanthropy and charity, that people cannot see the end result. I measure it best return on investment to society. An engineer costs $2,200 in 4 years only in government-run institutions that we do in Pakistan. And doctor costs $2,750. Sorry, I was too fast. The first year salary is $2,700 to $4,000 per year. Can you believe this return on investment? Less than 1 year. And this is just the first year. The limit, it is unlimited. It can go to, $100,000, $200,000. And you will change the life of not only the student, but the entire family. This is what PEF is all about, changing lives. Sorry. We started, I told you, 1,200, 2019, I think I made a mistake here, it's 1,800 students, and we plan to go to 3,500 students by 2023. This is where they came from. This is the area where I found them originally. She's a doctor. She's an engineer. She's a technician. This is a story of dreamers, believers, and achievers. It's a fantastic story. This is an environment for lessons. I'm not here for fundraising, but I'm here to tell what I did and what I. You don't need to be rich to start a social enterprise. But you need to be creative and passionate about it. Dr. Mahmood also said this, simple. My value proposition is that I don't need a 36-story lift to tell my story. I can do it in 5-story. Idea. Put a stake in the ground where the people can rally around. When we put the stake in the ground, I actually really didn't know how to do it. But the fact that the stake was there was no going back. We figured it out. Look at your other assets and local partnerships and other opportunities like my friends. Please look at your friends. We do not use our friends properly. Again, last thing, built a reliable and competent local board and an execution team. It is a must for proper delivery of value. A lot of people like you have desire, love Pakistan, want to give back, but want to do it from remote. Listen, I'm living in London, but all my 11 board members are local. So please take care of this. A personal experience. I found that changing lives of people will change you and will change you forever. What I want to say, my early upbringing was, बेटे कभी हाथ ऐसा ना रखो, हमेशा यूं रखो. When I went to the corporate life, I worked in partnerships. But today, who I am, I give, I partner, but I also beg proudly. Tomorrow, I have organized an event in West Chicago, and where I will talk. This is an educational atmosphere, but there I will talk about PEF, what you can do for PEF, right? And if you are interested in changing lives of people, please come to my event tomorrow. It's going to be only 2 hours, 3 to 5. There are invitation cards in the right corner. Please pick them up, and please do come.
Thank you so much, Hafiz. What's an amazing story, an amazing journey. And, you know, we don't have a whole lot of time because I know Haris and Amir are looking at me with those eagle eyes here. But, you know, just to kind of reflect on what Hafiz just said, which is about changing lives. And I got to make a quick confession here that, and, you know, I've done a few startups in my life, done some exits as well. And, you know, people would ask me, what is it that you're really trying to do in your life? And it took me about 15, 20 years to really break this down to a very simple concept, which was really driving a positive impact to the lives of people around you. And, you know, at times we don't have to build a multi-million-dollar organization or roll out a sophisticated product or a platform to just do that. We can all do that at our level. We can be the change agents to really start that ground up. And if we do this right, it transforms the life of so many people, like what Hafiz has shown us here, and as well as what Sadia is doing. So I want to take just a second here and thank both of you for being here. It's been a pleasure, myself, meeting you guys. I'm going to hand the stage over to Muzammil, who's now going to introduce our next segment here, which is all about pitch and competitions. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is the time we were all waiting for. The best part of the day, business pitch competition. Open Chicago has always supported startups and will continue to support startups. We did our first pitch competition back in 2013. Naved is right here. So Naved and I were there. And Mouse House, the winner of that competition, is here as a judge. Imran is here. Imran, can I, right here. Mouse House was the judge of that first competition, so he's here. We did a second Ignite session last year in 2018, where we introduced 5 startups, and they presented and came and presented. So this business pitch competition is really an opportunity for young and serial startups and entrepreneurs to come and present their ideas to investors and potential partners. With that, I would like to introduce Mahmood Majid, who's going to take this lead on this session. I would also like to thank you, Mahmood Majid, who just joined Open Chicago in this year and have put in a lot of effort for this competition, for this session. Thank you, Majid. So Mahmood Majid is managing partner at ZS Global Business Technology. For past 20 years, he has partnered with top Fortune 500 life sciences companies, advising clients on business transformation through enablement of advanced analytics to drive business performance. Mahmood is an avid industry speaker and enjoys sharing his extensive experience with the industry and best practices to the audience. He has extensive public speaking experience at large technology conferences, industry seminars, and intimate client forums. Mahmood also holds an executive MBA from Kellogg School of Management, MS in Computer Sciences from DePaul, and BS in architectural design from University of Oklahoma. So with that, please welcome Mahmood Majid.
All right, thank you, Muzammil. Thanks for the long intro. So, before I start, I just wanted to tell you guys why I started at Open. It was actually last year when I first heard about Open. And, I just came in and was the audience. And, I was fascinated by the speakers and more importantly, the pitch, the 6 companies. And that actually triggered something very interesting in me. And I've always be in this whole entrepreneur and innovator mindset. And when I saw this platform, this forum, that was very exciting. So after the pitch, I actually talked to a few people. I talked to Haris, introduced me, and then he called me. And here I was just trying to learn about Open, and then now I have the pleasure to actually host or facilitate this session. And before I do that, I wanted to let you guys know what's different this year. So, this year, we've actually created a real business pitch competition. What we mean by that is we have some 6 startup companies or groups that are going to come and present. So whoever you guys know who's presenting, can you please come in the front rows? So that way, I'll be calling you one at a time. We have 2 judges, 2 professional judges. We have Mr. Amir Ghaffar, who is a serial entrepreneur and who has also sponsored this event. So let's take a big round of applause for Mr. Amir. And Mr. Imran Ahmed, who is a venture capitalist, and he's also going to be here. So the way we are thinking about this session is not just the people come in and just present, but there's going to be some competition, meaning that there is actual prize money. So after all the sessions are done, we will be scoring and judging, and then we'll be distributing the prize money to the winners. So all of you guys who are presenting, I don't know if you know this, but the stakes have gone up. Additionally, there's a reason how the audience will also be able to participate. So the pitch will be about 5 minutes, and 5 means 5 because we'll be scoring you on how rigid are you with your timelines. Then we have asked the judges to ask questions and also to give feedback, because every pitch, every idea deserves a feedback. So all of you, please do take the time to listen and to also hear the feedback. If you guys like to ask any questions, there are volunteers that are roaming around. You raise your hand, they'll bring a paper, they write the questions, and then they'll hand it to me. So that's kind of how we are planning to do that. Now, before I actually start, I wanted to also share a perspective. And it's just something that I got some very interesting inspiration, so I thought I'll just share with this group. So let's take any businesses, right? Any business, big or small, profitable or unprofitable, new or very established corporation. There's always one thing that is common. What is it? What's common? They all have a story. And each business or each person has a story, and they would like to tell the story. From even business people, right? They are amazing storytellers. And the way they tell their stories is really gets excited. And they change their stories. They see the audience, they see their reflections, and they can maneuver, and they can really get feedback. So one company that excels in storytelling is Pixar. I'm sure you all know about Pixar. But do you know how did Pixar started? Pixar started as a company selling computer products, imaging software and hardware. Now, it's interesting. This is the business they were in, computer selling, computer hardware. When they go out and sell it to their customers, it's a very hard sell, and they're not able to really get a lot of customers. Customers will bring them in, they will listen to their pitches, but they won't buy it. Then there was a guy, one of their company's employees called John Lester. He started creating computer animated films of how to sell. And that's how, and he started showing those pictures or computer animated films to their customers, just about how to sell the computer hardware. So when they went to the customers, their customers remembered those stories or those videos that they were showing. Eventually, customers called Pixar back and said, "We don't want your computer, we want you to help build films for us." That's how Pixar started. And now we know Toy Story, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, and the list goes on. So what's fascinating about storytelling is that it's a very engaged, very interactive activity. Now, being great storytellers, Pixar's also told us one very interesting, crucial element of every story. Do you know what every story needs? An audience. An audience that really gives them the signals, the acceptance, right? So great storytellers, it's all about how do they really have the art of telling the story and really getting the audience of this attention. Hopefully I was able to get your attention for the last 2 minutes, and I would request you to please give your full attention to all these people. I don't know if you have been in a real situation where you are sitting in front of a small group with professional serial entrepreneurs, with venture capitalists, with innovators that actually have real business platforms, and you are the audience, right? I see that at Shark Tank, but I see it on the TV. You are live. So my ask from you is, please put your time and energy in listening to them, give all of your attention, and let's start the competition. Before I begin, I also want to recognize our partners, Jumpstart Chicago, who actually also helped us, got a lot of promotion to all of you. And with this, I'd like to invite our first company. I'd like to invite Amna Khan from iCard, Amna Shah from iCard, my apologies. And let's her and Salman Nayab, and let's hear the iCard story.
Thank you. Do you have a click?
Hey guys.
Clicker.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amna Shah, and I'm the CEO and founder of iCard.
Hi guys, I'm Salman Nayab. I'm CEO, not executive CEO.
Chief Execution Officer. So basically, my other company is HS Consulting. I fly around for the business a lot. And the story of iCard began with, obviously, a good chief execution officer, which stays behind and executes while I fly. And I was sitting in an airplane, and I wanted somebody's business card. So I called the office. Everybody was gone for the day. I found one person, and I said, "Can you go to my Rolodesk and find this person's card? Because I can't find it on me." So they looked, and they couldn't find it because they didn't know how I filed it. Did I file it by company name, by the designation, or by the name? So they were not successful. I tried to look for it on LinkedIn, and I couldn't find it. And then the plane started flying. So I had 5 hours. I got subscribed to the internet. I said, how come there isn't an app or some sort of a website that does it for us? How are we still passing paper business cards? You all are here in this conference. How many of you will take paper business cards with you and never look at them again? You'll try to find each other via email or some other connection, but never look at that business card again. So I wrote a business plan in that 5-hour flight to LA, and I couldn't find anything. There were business card apps out there that were actually available, but what they did was they scanned the paper business card, and it would retrieve the information and put it into like an electronic Rolodesk for you, but then they wouldn't read it carefully, or they wouldn't be very careful with like what's the designation, what it part of is the name, depending on what the card looked like. Was it a rectangular card? Was it a square card? Was it printed on the back of the card? Nobody was doing what I envisioned in that airplane ride. And I said, there has to be something electronic where we share information quickly. So basically, what iCard does is it takes the paper out of the business card, right? So what happens is we are actually live on iOS and Android devices. You download the app, it's free of charge. You put in your information, it generates a QR code with your information. You meet somebody else with the same app, and what you do is scan their QR code and you connect it for life. So if I move companies, I move my designation within the same company, I'm not throwing those 250 or 500 business cards. I'm actually updating my information in that app, and all you're doing is still connected with me, unless I block you and you're pestering me. I would still be connected with you, and your information moves with me wherever I go, like wherever I need to. Your information also is a generator of a QR code, where if somebody needs your information, I can have them scan your QR code and have them connect with you as well. So basically, it's backed up on cloud. So we're familiar with phone snatching, people that are, were brought up in Pakistan. So we have the same thing where if your phone is lost or stolen, you still have access to your connections because they're backed up in a cloud environment. You can log in from anywhere and have access. You can download it on a new phone, and you'll still have access to your connection, so you don't ever lose them. It's a patent-pending app. There's nothing like that out there. So we're investing in that from our other company. Obviously, it's a paperless solution. Everybody likes to go green nowadays, and it's taking the paper out of the card. And so we don't have a monetary, basically, real requirement because our parent company is funding the app. The whole thing about this is whoever invests or hooks up with the right investor or the ideal mindset that we're looking for, we can generate revenues for them. So let's say you're looking for a plumber. You search for a plumber in the iCard app. We can run advertisement banners on the top, which would give you the local plumbers in your area, and you can say, oh, there's a 5% off or 10% off today if you use my services instead of somebody in your iCard directory. So that's the value proposition for an investor.
I'm going to be a time cop, 90 seconds.
Sorry,
left.
okay. So I'm going to just skip to the video because that tells you a lot about the iCard. Do you want to go ahead and click that? Thank you. Don't knock off my time for this.
Contacts are essential to everything we do, from making friends to making money. But people change job, address, contact info, companies, even countries. If you lose a contact, you could lose a new friend or a new business opportunity. Wouldn't it be great if all your contacts were always updated and always available? Now they can, with iCard, the ultimate personal and business card app for your phone. When you meet someone new, just scan their iCard QR code. All their contact details magically appear on your phone. Whenever they update their details, they'll automatically update on your phone too. Imagine never having to reprint your business cards and never having to inform everyone your new contact details. There's hours of hassle avoided and tons of money saved. Use iCards with your friends, colleagues, business contacts, or anyone else you meet. Anyone can have their own iCard. Students, salesmen, doctors, housewives, even your pet cat. So whether you want to make new friends, make more money, or just stay in touch, download iCard today and never lose a contact ever again.
Right.
Thank you so much for having us. Questions?
Questions? Sure. I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
So first off, very good video and presentation. One of the things that I wanted to buy is, do both people have to have the app in order for this to work, or is it a single?
That is correct.
Okay, so how are you guys going to overcome, there's a network effect that you have to overcome to really get this ubiquitous at scale. And then, so that's question one. Question two that I have is, there's a lot of complementary solutions. They may not have the exact same technology solution that you guys have, but there are, as you even indicated, a lot of scanning technologies, LinkedIn, et cetera. How do you cut through the noise to really make sure that people adopt iCard as opposed to anything else?
Right, so that's the challenge, part of the challenge that we have right now is the right mindset that can get us to scale and get to the next level, because there are lots of ideas. The iCard, the app is free of charge on iOS and Android right now, so it's not money generating at all. And the reason we did that is because we're behind times, and even in the United States and around the world, if you go to China, you're renting everything with a QR code. Even bicycles, if you want to ride a bicycle, you scan a QR code. That happened 10 years ago, not now. This is old technology for them. So when I'm trying to envision people scanning QR codes, not in our society, because we are obviously from Asia, even locals here, it's hard to get your mom and pop to jump on like Facebook right away or scan a QR code. So it is tough. But what we have done, actually having it free of charge, people are jumping on it. We have 2,500 users. And so this is one of the issues that we have. So you nailed it, where going to scale is our biggest challenge. Like, okay, so how do we get more people to embrace it?
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a couple of feedbacks, I would say, versus questions. I wasn't clear how much was the raise, because I didn't see a slide, or maybe I missed that in your verbal narrative.
Sorry, what's that?
How much are you trying to raise?
We're not exactly trying to raise capital.
Okay.
Our parent company, AHS Consulting, has funded it fully. It's
Okay.
more the networking, the right connections, and if we're looking at getting to the next level, we're looking at giving somebody a stake in the company with the right connections to get us to the next level.
So you're looking to build the team. You're looking
Absolutely.
to have the scalability
Absolutely.
like Dr. Saab said earlier.
Yeah.
Or mentorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The second part was, do you perceive this to be any vertical specific? Like, for example, LinkedIn for everybody,
Absolutely.
but this could be like, what would be that vertical that would be ideal for this?
So LinkedIn and Facebook just came up with the QR code idea a year ago.
Yeah, we just
And we started in 2013, so we were ahead of them. The thing is that it is something that can integrate into LinkedIn. So LinkedIn would be a great, investor in iCard, saying we don't have what you guys have, and we would like, instead of people, switching business cards, to actually go electronic with our platform and access. You don't even have to make an iCard because your information is on LinkedIn available.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Also for the airlines, they can use iCard when they print your boarding pass. So you don't have to write down your name, address, and phone number on your luggage. They will give you QR code to stick on your luggage if you lost it. Anybody scan anywhere in the world if you lost luggage, and you will know who scanned your luggage. It just is another idea. Go with iCard, and they will find out who you are and whose luggage is. So they will contact the airline and they will contact you. So the luggage belongs to who. It's like just different things go with iCard, not only one simple thing, connection with each other, but there's too many things together.
Okay, thank you.
Is it our time?
All right.
Our time's up.
Let's give a round of applause to the iCard team. So, it's very fascinating to see, a serial entrepreneur and his son, high school student, are really creating some amazing opportunities. So, I'd like to invite Asif Khan and Azmir Khan.
Hi, my name is Azmir Khan. I'm a junior at Oak Park River Forest High School, and I'm here to talk to you about a nonprofit organization in Pakistan called Rana. Over this last summer, me and my family visited the northern areas of Pakistan, and as many of us know, there are children that are very young all over the place who are begging and doing odd jobs to help support their families. My father and I started talking to this one child. He was 7 years old, he had a squeegee in his hand, and he wanted to clean car windows. Unfortunately, his father had passed away, he had a younger brother, and his mother did not have a job. And he was the one who was making the most money in his family at 7 years old. We were really touched by his story. We gave him all the cash we had. And after speaking to him, we realized that we really needed to do more to help other children like him. While we were there, we started speaking to our extended family, and we spoke to one of my aunts who introduced us to Rana. We visited the organization, and that's where we found out how big the problem really is. It was astonishing to find out that millions of children in Pakistan, instead of going to school, are being found on the streets begging and doing odd jobs to make money. And according to UNICEF, Pakistan has the world's second highest number of out-of-school children. That's an estimated 22.8 million children from ages 5 to 16. And that makes up 44% of the total population of that age group. We saw the work that the Rana team was doing, and we decided to help by creating a nonprofit in the United States in order to help raise awareness and find potential sponsors for kids. Because we believe that every child should have the opportunity to reach their full potential. So Rana helps these kids by teaching them basic etiquette, like not putting your elbows on the table. They provide them with some food, a little bit of fruit and milk, and a little bit of a daily allowance, which is about 50 pak rupees. They've also partnered with some very generous private institutions, and these private institutions have a set number of seats in their schools for specifically for students from Rana. Why now? Well, there's lots of organizations in Pakistan that are working to educate underprivileged children. However, none of these companies, none of these organizations are really focused on helping the poorest of the poor. This is where we as Rana come in. So, Professor Mavish and Mr. Simab started Rana in the KPK province. They visit the busiest streets with the local police, and they find the kids who are working and begging, and they offer them food and money as an alternative to begging. The police are with them so that the kids have a sense of security, and the local authorities have also provided Rana with a temporary workspace to help teach these children. Also, lastly, Rana ensures that the children's parents are aligned with Rana, and they are forced to sign an agreement that their children cannot be found working in the streets again. So not only does Rana teach these kids, they also provide them with fun and engaging activities. Some of these kids have never experienced a birthday or what it feels like to receive a present. So Rana helps these kids experience these things that every kid should. So Rana has achieved so much in the last year. Rana has almost doubled the number of students, tripled the staff, and distributed almost triple the amount of ration packages for the more impoverished students and their families. But that's not the best part. The best part is that Rana has increased the number of private school admissions by over 400%. What's next? Well, we're starting a nonprofit in the United States to support Rana's efforts in Pakistan. Our goal is to build a scalable model with a pod concept, and we will centralize all marketing, fundraising, curriculum development, while also allowing anyone to open a Rana center while getting support through our central back office. Our goal is to engage and help 100,000 kids in the next 10 years, while also potentially creating up to 10,000 jobs. That's one person per Rana center, and each Rana center would have an estimated 10 to 20 students. What can you do to help, or how can you help us? Please visit our website, rana.org, that's RAANA.org, and please pledge to sponsor as many kids as you can. It only takes $25 per month, and you also may get tax exemptions. And here are some things that we spend $20 or so on without thinking about the impact it could have on a child's life. For example, you could buy 4 Starbucks lattes, a dozen roses, some gas, a few bottles of water, snacks, and a movie ticket. Just imagine giving up one of these things a month can turn a child's life around. And for those of you of the Muslim faith, this donation is applicable towards zakat and khairat. I feel that we were all fortunate enough to be born into good families. We could have easily ended up like any of these kids. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope we can help these kids together.
Thank you, Ajmer, for what a wonderful call. Questions?
That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Are you crossing your fingers in the pocket over there? No, yeah, because this was awesome. So My only question is, I understand it's a very good social message and really impressed with that. Do you have the organization to make it happen? Like if I donate, I do the $25, like do you have the infrastructure here, or is it all going to go to Pakistan? And they have the professors will do it there? Like how is the capital going to get deployed?
Well, so right now we're in the process of creating a 501c nonprofit organization in the United States. So once we have that set up, we'll be able to, I don't know, like take our donations and, but they all pass it on to Pakistan.
Right, so I think one of the things we're trying to do is, there's already a good operation running in Pakistan by the folks in Pakistan. What the limiting factor is, there are 22 million kids who need help. And our goal, if you look at it, is just 100,000. I was like, it gotta be 1 million. But people are like, how are we gonna scale it? So the answer is, our initial goal is to take the funds and help those organizations, that organization that's already doing, you saw the figures, to help pass on the fund and then help them build the infrastructure around it. So infrastructure is gonna come from hopefully different experts around the room and other my contacts.
So in phase one, just empower the people that are already down in the footprint and let's just collect the money from here.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Good job, man.
It's phenomenal storytelling, as we started off the event with. So kudos to you on that, and the presentation was fantastic. The thing that I'm trying to figure out, so when you start a nonprofit, one of the biggest things is, again, to cut through the noise and develop and establish a brand. How are you guys going to go about establishing a brand, and what's that process? Because fundraising, we all have a passion that we are focused on, but to become the Red Cross, how do you actually develop that brand?
And so I'll be a little controversial. So hopefully we don't want to be the Red Cross, where a lot of the value goes to plane tickets and whatnot. So I think the way we are thinking about it is really sharing stories about how these kids change their lives. If you go to the website, you will see in the success stories a kid who was who's an orphan and got into drugs. And after 3 years of continuous engagement with him, he's finally going to be admitted to one of the most prominent schools in that city. So I think when people see the success and fully transparent, like what our goal is to make it fully transparent. Like if you put $25, what percentage of this $25 is actually going to the actual kid? And the bigger plan is to have the kids have a profile. So when you log in and if you're supporting or sponsoring kids, it's like a web-based platform. So if you're sponsoring 10 kids, you will have the 10 profiles, and eventually you can communicate with the teachers and other people with them, so you can engage on a more regular basis and support and kind of develop a relationship that you're sponsoring them and see their progress over time. So I think with that type of mindset and capability, again, I think the marketing is very true. It's one of those things you try to do the best, and we'll see where the Lord leads us. So we'll go from there.
Good job. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Thanks. And I think it's interesting.
He's a radiologist trained at Harvard, MIT, and UCSF. He was my partner at Microsoft. I hired him. He ran the Beijing team while I ran the US team, building healthcare products and AI. And Jerry is a data and privacy lawyer, one of the top 10 in the world in data and privacy, advising countries and states on privacy-related regulations, and even has drafted some of the state regulations on privacy around data. So what we're trying to do is really transform how healthcare is practiced today. So today, technology, software tools, and the applications to build AI are all there. The problem has become is data access. So you think of it how autopilot transformed airline industry, right? It really made pilots more efficient, improved safety and efficacy, but did not remove the pilots. So the things we hear, don't train radiologists anymore, is completely wrong. How we actually seeing what is happening in the industry is actually, as you think about making a process efficient, the cost goes down and the volume of usage goes up, and you end up increasing the number of people that do that. Even when you hear examples of, when Ford started the car, all the people doing stagecoaches didn't need to exist. if you think of it, the job the Stagecoach guy was doing is moving people around. Compare how many Stagecoach drivers were there and how many Uber drivers are now. So you actually, you scale that use of the problem when you become more efficient. So that's how we see this happening. And the way the applications today are being developed, what people are doing are building point solutions. So somebody's building an application to detect lung cancer on a chest X-ray. Other one's building an application to detect lung cancer on a CT scan. Third person building an application to detect fracture of the wrist. It's like imagine as a pilot, have a different autopilot to take off, different autopilot to bring the wheels in, different autopilot to turn left, to turn right. It'll be impossible to fly the plane. So you really need to have a coherent application. The reason it's happening is based on what data is available for them to train their AI models. And that's what we are trying to change. The way people are doing data sharing today is leading to this, where Google, University of Chicago here gave data to Google, and now they're in a big lawsuit for giving data away to somebody else. So the way we are solving this problem is twofold. One is for the enterprise health systems and anybody that has the data to expose data in a secure and a privacy-friendly manner where they don't lose data. Think of it a sandbox where you can come and play, but you cannot take the toys away. So the idea is that I have AI developers and researchers who want to build disease detection models in the future come and play in the sandbox where the enterprise still controls the data access of it, and they don't get a copy of the data. All data is de-identified and automatically put, and there's a whole governance layer put in on top of the data. For the people who are building AI applications, for them, a simple turnkey way to set up the infrastructure in the cloud to train their models. So you want to detect cancer in the future or some other application, you can actually don't have to worry about buying the hardware, setting up the GPUs, configuring the cloud. Everything is given you all in turnkey. And because we are making all this data available in a secure privacy manner, we can actually now do a lot of sophisticated deep learning to build pretty significant AI applications. Is it better now? Oh. I thought I was loud anyway. Now it'll be more loud. Okay. And the last thing really is that we do think that the patients have a right to opt out of these kind of things. That's where all the state legislation is going in. So providing patients an opt-out, capability to opt out. A lot of traction, so we've closed a bunch of big deals on data side of things. RadNet, which is the largest radiology practice in the country, 25 states, 1,500 radiologists have partnered with us. They have 52 million patient record, El Camino Health System in California, and all the others that you see there. And about 15 AI developers that are currently building applications on the platform or planning to build it. I think I'm going to end here. We're doing a small raise, very limited capacity. If anybody's interested, we're looking to see if somebody participate in the round. Thank you.
So, thank you very much for the presentation. I was unclear about how big is the market? How big is the TAM? This is the real problem, but how big is it, the market is?
Market is, medical imaging is alone, just radiology aspect of it is about 10% of total healthcare costs today, right? So it's $3 trillion cost. So it's a pretty significant number. So just in the AI aspect of it, it's a $2 billion TAM today, not how it's going to grow and more things are going to happen.
And to follow up to that, and that majority of the money is being spent by academic institutes, like who are the spenders, like who will be the customer for the solution that the money
So customer for us is the people who are building applications and researchers and companies. So all of our 15 customers are all commercial entities building solutions, all the way from big companies like GE, Siemens, Philips to other smaller AI companies that are well capitalized.
And last question, sorry. How much are you trying to raise?
About $500,000, a very small round, trying to bootstrap because we have all these customers ready to pay, so don't need to do a big round anymore.
What's the minimum investment?
I can give the details if somebody's interested.
$10. I think the audience would like to know that. What's the minimum check you're willing to accept on that $500,000 family and friend group?
I mean, if 50 people show up here, definitely that number will go up, but I think that's a discussion in a private one-on-one.
Thanks.
Seems like you have a willing investor. So the main question that I have is access to the data. So one of the things are you guys integrated with the PACS systems to actually pull in the data feeds? And then I didn't understand quite exactly the mechanism behind the curtain, if you will. Is it the Wizard of Oz, a person sitting down there effectively doing consultative like uptake is doing on big data for outside, or are you guys doing something else?
It's all automated. This is a technology we actually had built at Microsoft in 2010 timeframe, but never commercialized there. So we just taken what we built and open sourced that time and taken it to the next level. So it's all automated. We put a gateway in any healthcare enterprise that talks to their systems, and we index all the data that is in there, including imaging and reports and everything else, and then provide those data cohorts, have self-service to the AI developers. So if you want to come and find a disease, you put in, we'll give them all the infrastructure, here's the data, what is available and what you would need, and what related things you should be looking for to build a data cohort.
And is it on a per seat basis that you guys are selling, or is it subscription?
So we're charging for compute, storage, and I/O costs. So when your data you're storing in the cloud, the computer you're running it, and then when you deploy it in production, every time the AI model runs in production, we get paid at that time also. So training and in production.
Great.
So I have a question. You mentioned showing the enterprise data services, right, in the first offering. Is this use case specific to radiology, or are you also offering to customers who, let's say, have genome sequencing and some of the patient genie data?
So we've optimized it for medical imaging, not just radiology, anything, because the amount of tools you need to automate data cohorting. But the plan is to expand not only in healthcare, we're already getting requests from security industry and finance to do it for non-healthcare applications. But that's our growth strategy.
Perfect. All right. So let's give a round of applause to Dr.
Sounds good.
Constantine.
Thank you.
Our next participant is a consumer app idea, Faiz Rahman from UR Rental.
Assalamu alaikum. So, this whole idea and my story starts for UR Rental when I came from Pakistan to the United States 6 to 7 years back, looking from a banking background and a business family background. I was looking for jobs and realized that the banks would not take me in here because I don't have the right certifications. And then getting into business was a very difficult thing here that needed a lot of cost. The only option I was left was drive Uber. So I realized Uber actually, facilitated a lot of people like me to get some income. Eventually, I ended up starting a business, an agency business with Avis and Budget car rental, and developed this idea from there. So UR Rental, okay. So what I want to do is actually for individuals, giving them the opportunity to earn a decent living, opportunity to start business for small entrepreneurs, and for the businesses like retail businesses, small retail businesses, to add on profits with this, and for our commuters, provide them convenience of renting a car from every corner in the town. So my business model is basically it's a service-based search market. It would be a service-based search marketplace, which would be a customer-to-customer. In fact, so like I want to call it, partner-to-customer-based model, has a global networking effect, and my incomes are based basically on commission revenues from them. So this is my product. It's an app-based application, and which actually allows people to rent cars from individuals from many different groups, like individuals, from car dealers, from small businesses, from retail stores. And it's basically a franchisee model. It's a franchise model that I want to offer all small businesses and retail stores to become a franchise for your rental. If you see the top 500 franchise list, you would not see any single big brand or any car rental company there. So that's where the idea comes from, that I want to make a franchise, car rental franchise, a low-cost franchise that everybody can open. So this is how the app's gonna look, and this is just a demo. I don't have the sites demo here for now, but okay. So that is my product. That's gonna, how it's gonna affect the society, how it's gonna affect. So individuals, those individuals who have used cars or who retrade their cars for a much lesser price can actually use them as their, to make money from them. And the best part about this is that it would not even occupy their time. Like, a driver has to be in an Uber, and that occupies his time. This income would not occupy his time. Okay, small businesses and retail stores. Those retail stores can actually, if they're making $6,000, by adding a franchise model from your rental, can improve their income from this business. Plus, that will bring also customers to their locations, improving their own businesses as well. Car dealers. Car dealers have a lot of idle inventory that can be used to be rented out, bringing profits to them. And standalone operations, there are a lot of small rental companies, they have standalone operations, and they can have a bigger platform, a bigger customer base through us. So what I'm trying to do is basically providing franchise for car rental, which costs a lot. Not only that it costs a lot, it's not even available. If you go to big brands like Hertz, Enterprise, and Avis and Budget, they do not offer franchising it's not an easy thing to get a franchise from them. And even if you're approved and all, you need a lot of net worth, like $500,000 in net worth, $150,000 in cash, plus you can build a fleet of 80 to 100 cars, which is a very costly thing. So my whole idea is to bring car rental franchises at a cost that every retail store can open, and we can have car rental franchises at every corner. All right, so my basic competition.
Wrap up in 30 seconds, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. So my basic competition is with the franchising model of these big brands, ride sharing, Uber, Lyft, and Toro as well. So I think my idea would be more effective, cost effective than getting an Uber, because you get an Uber a $30 for a ride. For a $30, you get a car for a whole day. Okay, so this is the market size, and you see my competitors are like actually doing $78.3 billion in revenues with 101 million users.
So let's go to the last slide.
Yeah. And this is just the anticipation of where I could be in my first year, getting 100,000, renting customers. And that's the revenue. That's just a very small, conservative number. Yes.
Thank you. Let's give it an applause.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
So just some positive feedback. I think, if you would have jumped down to the market very quickly, I would have gotten the idea right there, because I think you took a long time describing the idea. So if I understand it correctly, this is going to be like if I wanted to run a Zipcar from my house, right? I have 3 used cars. They're collecting dust on the driveway, and I say, hey, I want to run be a small business. So I'll get a package, a franchise package from you. That will have all the contracts, agreement, insurance, and royalty.
That's correct. That's correct. So individual, partners is just one segment. So the main idea is franchising out your rental to small locations, small businesses, small marts. Where for small business startups, there are many people who don't want to, like myself when I came, I did not want to drive a taxi or become a taxi driver. Okay. I'm sorry, no offense if somebody is, but we all want to do some, something better to earn. Okay, so this is going to provide an opportunity not only for individuals, but also for small businesses, standalone car rental companies.
Now, follow up real quick to my question. Second part of my question was, so you're looking for funding, team, or where you at this venture? If I look at it as a
well, I am looking for funding, yes, and so the number, if you want, I can tell you.
Because I think that should
$3 million is what I'm looking for, and I need to build a team that can actually go out in the market, and we're going to be doing a lot of other sorts of online marketing and stuff, yes, but we need to actually go out to the market and, set up those franchises with the retailers.
I want to be respectful for the other teams. I think we have our time over. Imran, any quick comments? All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
It's fascinating that this conference is so much about healthcare. We had Dr. Mahmood Khan this morning. We have a healthcare panel. You saw Khan Siddiqui presenting him. And our next participant is also from Asif Khan and Laura McKee from Huku.ai.
Salam alaikum. I'm here representing Huku AI. Asif Khan and I have teamed up. Asif, you may know, is the former chairman and CEO of CareMerge, a successful EHR for the assisted living and CCRC market. My prior company was called Autism Home Support Services and provides one-on-one care for children with autism using applied behavior analysis therapy. So we were introduced. Aha. Thank you. We were introduced by one of Asif's professors from University of Chicago Business School. I'm a Northwestern University Kellogg person, and we're offering a free person-centered messaging network for everyone in the healthcare system. The problem that we're solving is threefold. Anyone who's had a loved one in the healthcare system knows how challenging the experience is from a consumer perspective. Healthcare is fragmented, communication is very poor, and the risks that people have of being readmitted to the hospital are difficult to manage. We're solving the communication problem that currently is being addressed by fax, phone, email, text, often in non-HIPAA compliant manners, or racing around a post-acute care setting trying to find the people who are responsible for the patient. We're providing a single, visible, transparent risk of each patient so that we can reduce the readmissions. And most importantly, we're engaging the workforce that is suffering from frustration due to lack of communication, lack of appreciation for doing a very difficult job. Huku provides honors points for each individual who are offering high quality care to people in the healthcare system. The market size is enormous, with our healthcare system in the United States bending under the pressure of the weight of aging. There's more than 130 people being served, of which $675 billion is going towards Medicare. We believe that we can access 5 million of those patients and provide them better quality care with Huku. The product itself is a very easy to use, simple interface, much like what people are used to using on their phones. It offers one-to-one communication as well as one-to-many communication in group settings and in patient-centered groups. It offers easy messaging, and the users can set their availability so that rather than tracking people down during their lunch breaks or when they're on separate shifts, they have access to the information in both real time and asynchronously. So from a financial perspective, we're focused like a laser on growing this in a bootstrap method so that we can achieve a break even of $600,000. We already have 5 customers in our pipeline, and 1 strategic customer is using the application in beta currently, with 2 other contracts ready to go. So today we're not looking for funding. We're looking to get the word out about the competitive advantage that Huku has. It's a very simple, easy-to-use solution that is available currently. It's fun, and our users are able to earn Huku honors points by providing high-quality care that our AI engine recognizes. So what we're asking of this group, as I said, is not funding. It's really potential customers, some of whom are actually in the room, and we're very grateful for their interest in solving the problem that we have. AI and machine learning resources as we continue to build out our team in Pakistan and create better algorithms to reducing risk of readmission for hospitals, and any partners who might help us. So I'll leave the rest for questions.
Perfect. You ended 30 seconds early.
Sure. So funny story. I tried to invest in Laura's last company, and she turned me down. So hopefully she doesn't do this again with Autism Home Support Services. But wanted to ask just high level. So is it a good analogy to say this is Slack for healthcare settings, and you guys are trying to create sort of
Exactly, yes. So we're using the same business model as WhatsApp and Slack in creating a freemium offering so that individuals can use the messaging portion at no cost. As long as they're within a healthcare entity, they can invite all their colleagues who are in that healthcare entity, and if there's a BAA in place, we'll accept them making invitations outside their own entity. And then the premium model will offer operational reporting for the risk ratings of the patients, as well as offer a leaderboard for employees so that you can see who your high performers are.
So I guess piggybacking off of that, I mean, I know Slack is not perfectly designed for HIPAA compliance usage, but there are other competitors out there who have sort of developed platforms that are much more HIPAA compliant. Semaphore out in St. Louis and other groups. Have you guys encountered those people? Is the strategy to approach the market just much more, you know, I'm targeting a healthcare organization and that's it? Is that why you guys are going to be different from a market perspective?
Yeah, I mean, you can recognize that the healthcare marketplace is, you know, a very active, busy, crowded marketplace. But we know that we're solving a problem because the first potential customers that we've spoken to have actually come back to us and said, we need a better solution than what's available today. So we don't believe any of the other competitors are offering a tailored solution that really meets the needs, particularly in the post-acute care market.
That was a great presentation. That shows the flavor of Asif in there. So, you know, it hit all the right points.
He would have done a much better job.
No, not presenting, but the slides and all of that stuff. So in the post-acute market, if I understand it correctly, is it geared towards somebody who got discharged and went home, or is that somebody who went to a rehab center, or is it an assisted living or a SNF?
So the typical post-acute care is all of those. More and more of the folks in skilled nursing today have higher acuity problems versus the typical long-term care solution, or they're coming out of rehab and, you know, moving through the skilled nursing location after a brief rehabilitation period. So the needs are still the same with regard to providing the information and the communication so that people avoid complications, pressure sores, infections, the kinds of things that send people back to the hospital.
And out of all of those, which ones are the ones which are your initial target market? So out of all of those post-acute facilities, which are the first 5 customers of the 10?
So the risk-bearing entities are the ones who have the biggest interest in the solution. With CMS increasing penalties for readmissions, those who are suffering from those pains are the ones who are reaching out to us.
Cool, thank you.
All right. Our last participant is Naveed Abidi, who is the ex-president of Open Chicago. And he also has a very interesting idea. And I know there are lots of conversations going on. If I can just ask you guys to give Naveed the opportunity for the audience. It's a very interesting concept. And let's say Naveed.
Hi, everyone. So we heard Mahmood Khan earlier speak, and he mentioned 3 factors that enable a company to be extremely successful. Is the idea differentiated, right? Do you understand the domain? And can you build systems that scale, that customize to the needs of each person, and allow technology to scale with that? Okay. Hi, I'm Naveed Abdi. I'm the CEO of Sleep Live Well. I solve hard problems by creating systems that personalize and scale. That's what I do. Tens of millions of Americans are currently using systems that I've created that solve their specific needs and manage their assets on a daily basis. Now, there's a problem I've been trying to solve for a very long time. In fact, my entire adult life, I've had problems sleeping. Now, often I wind up sleeping less than 3 hours a night. And life sucks when you are not sleeping, basically. So, I've tried pretty much everything and nothing worked. And sleeping pills were never an option because they're highly addictive, they're deadly, and if I wake up at 4 a.m., I take that, I can't get to work. So it seemed like I just did not have an off button in my brain. So I had to create one. An off button for myself and everybody else who deserves better sleep and to get more from life. Let's see. Meet Sleep Live Well, AKA your off button. It's the world's first sleep app that induces sleep, and it personalizes the solutions to your needs. The way it works is, Mahmood Khan mentioned the impact of stress, right? I mean, it's devastating. So whatever's keeping you awake, you're experiencing those things. It could be pain, stress, or whatever. So you tap exactly what's keeping you awake at this moment. And our AI then personalizes a set of audio instructions. It generates the sessions for you on the fly, based on the specific instructions that you need to get to sleep. So you may ask, how on earth does it do that? Well, what we have done is taken thousands of research papers and gone through, and I've personally gone through 2 decades of training in Buddhist meditation, yoga, Sufi meditation, and combined all of that knowledge into understanding of how does that actually relate, how does all of those practices change your internal states. And we've compressed all of those into a simple session that you don't need to know any of that background. You just press that play button. Oh, I'm going backwards, sorry. Yeah, it just generates the session. You press play, and you go to sleep. What you experience is you detach from what is keeping you awake. You experience a relaxation of your mind and body, and you just fall asleep. That's all. It happens kind of magically. It's not magic, but to you, as you experience it, it's just pretty magical. Now, this is helping me sleep. But we've been out there in the market for 3 months, marketing on Twitter, and people are pretty desperate. These are over 20,000 people on Twitter saying they can't sleep, and the response is pretty incredible, right? So we've got 3,000 users on Twitter, and we get reactions like this every day. I put this on last night. I do not remember a thing. It's game-changing. Now, I want to kind of, we're going through this, it's my problem, but it's actually a pretty big problem globally. It turns out 1 in 3 people globally have sleep problems. And CDC now says that lack of sleep worsens all top 20 diseases, increasing the cost of healthcare by over 25% and reducing global GDP by over 2%. That's a $2 trillion impact. $2 trillion. I want you to sink that in, because that's bigger than all the top 20 diseases combined, right? So that's a big problem, and now the market opportunity is actually as big. Just in the English-speaking developed world, there's 275 million people who are open to a sleep tech solution, right? And over 20 million Americans awake in the middle of the night, hanging on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms. And now we know how to exactly engage them and bring them on. So we know how to acquire these customers. And so we've hit our milestone, we've demonstrated product market fit, we know what these people want, and we have demonstrated exactly how to put them to sleep. Where are we going from here? Next milestone over the next quarter is we want to go revenue positive, okay? And our business model is we've got a $60 annual subscription, which is nothing. Like, it's like per month, it's like buying Starbucks coffee, right? People pay thousands of dollars for an expensive mattress and they still can't sleep. And our cost of acquisition, that's in assumptions, we don't know that right now, but that's an average from the industry we know for the healthcare cost. And just adding 50 subscribers a day gets us to $1 million revenue rate for every 50 subscribers that we add on. I'm not interested in this for 50 subscribers. We're looking at scaling this to 1,000 subscribers a day, and scaling this so that we get to 2 million subscribers by 2025. So we get $120 million revenue by 2025. Now you're like, oh, that sounds like a big number. Well, yeah, Calm and Lumosity, they're at something like 150, $200 million revenue rates within 6 years. So these are not unreasonable numbers. And we're looking to, and this is just a sleep vertical market in the English-speaking developed world. I mean, sleep, we can go to the rest of the world, and we can also look at other verticals. For example, when you look at weight loss, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, you can go down the list on health and wellness space, and each one of those is critically dependent on better sleep. So if you're awake in the middle of the night in any of those verticals, we can actually target those customers and expand our revenue base to billions of dollars a year. And so we're looking to raise $1.5 million with about $50K minimum investment with a safe investment round. Thank you.
Okay. You already went to sleep?
Thanks a lot. This is all built in Pakistan, and we want to not just create Pakistan's first unicorn. I'm interested in creating Pakistan's first decacorn, the first 10 billion company out of Pakistan.
Awesome. Two quick questions. Do you plan to do a study which shows the efficacy of the app? Like, are you collecting data? Is it going to be like published in some scientific journal or something like that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So there's two separate routes. One, we are a wellness app, okay, and we stay clear of FDA. So being on the internet, being on the wellness space, we can stay clear of the FDA side, okay, and just sell ourselves as a wellness solution. Okay, no scientific study required, although we are integrating into Fitbit, so we can get live customer data, and actually we're constantly A/B testing and improving the efficacy. So we're doing in-house testing. We've got a clinical psychologist in-house, and we've got the average sleep time down to 13 minutes, but we want to get the data. I'm a data science guy, so I like the data, but there's a separate FDA approval route.
So one of the options, it said sad or lonely, right? And one of the options on the menu of your app said sad or lonely, you couldn't sleep. What do you do when you press that?
Okay, so for
no, because
yeah, it's very good. It's a very good question, right? There's sad, lonely, panic attack, fears. There's all sorts of things. Okay, so part of the issue is depending on the emotional stressor or even physical stressor, like it could be pain, lower body pain. These are very complicated things. What's the marginal thing that we do differently between them? We start with Rumi's approach. One of the things that Maulana Rumi, he's a great poet, Sufi, what he says is he has an amazing poet that's quoted by all sorts of Buddhists and all sorts of other people, and it's about you welcoming in exactly what annoys you and what irritates you and what makes you uncomfortable. Because that now science shows desensitizes because you're awake, because your amygdala, parts of your body is reacting to that. And by specifically allowing us to know what's keeping the person awake, we can create the right modules, add the right modules that allows that person to welcome in those things and desensitize their brain and the reactivity to those situations.
Okay, thanks.
So one of the big things is obviously showing efficacy, which he asked a question about in terms of how does this actually improve my sleep? That's part one. But I guess piggybacking off of that, there's a more central question that I have, which there's a lot of direct-to-consumer apps out there. You mentioned Calm and others that have gotten traction because they have spent a lot of money from a distribution standpoint. And so you made an assumption on your cost of customer acquisition of $50, which, not bad, probably in market territory in terms of what the comps are. But what I don't have a sense for is your lifetime value per customer. So if what are churn assumptions in this space? How are you guys going to make sure that you're maintaining a product that I'm willing to pay $60 a year for longer than 4 years? Because right now, your economics don't work unless I'm staying on the platform for 4 years or more.
No, our economics work if we can get you, we make more money from you right up front than it costs to acquire you. We can scale the hell out of this thing to millions of people.
Yeah, so I guess there's a common formula that's used in direct-to-consumer apps, which is an LTV to CAC ratio of 3 to 1, which is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, let me answer that. So our lifetime value, so sleep gets worse with age, right? So we are selling an annual subscription. We launched 3 months ago. We don't have an LTV. Right?
Understand, yeah.
So, right? So
early.
we will know that after 10 years, I can give you what our LTV is, right? So it's a theoretical question, but what we're doing is creating a business model that optimizes for that. We know the median person coming in is a 45-year-old woman. That's the median person coming into our platform. And 45-year-old women not only make decisions for themselves, they make decisions for their parents, for the children, and their spouse. So what we're doing is, as part of every subscription, we offer 3 free family accounts, just automatically. So they can give it to their parents, to their children. And once they add all of those people, they're not canceling next year.
All right. Thank you, Naveed. I know I don't want to interrupt, but
Where's your CMO?
All right, so...
Where's the half of the team? Where's the half of the team? I saw a CMO picture up there.
CMO?
To us, we are looking for charter members and other kind of members. And again, this is the platform that really helps us connect, network, inspire. So all of you who had questions and all the founders of the companies that are here, please do. We will resume for a break. So when you go for a break, feel free to connect with them. But guess what? We have actually already identified a winner. And if I can just get 30 seconds of your attention, I'd like to invite the winning team, and I will ask Mr. Amir Ghaffar to hand the check. So our winning team is Huku.ai, Asif and Laura. Let's give a big round of applause.
That was a great presentation.
While they're taking pictures, congratulations, Asif and Laura, Huku.ai. We're going to take 5 minutes coffee break, but it's only going to be 5 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. My name is Ashraf Lakhani. I'm the CEO of Superhost Hospitality. And today I'm giving you true live testimony from our hotel at the Embassy Suites, where the Open Annual Conference is being conducted. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, it's an amazing organization. I love to deliver the message to all the young millennials to please give us a shot and come over to the annual conferences, be a member, be a part of it, and learn a lot. I'm telling you, knowledge is more powerful than any asset you own in the country. I would recommend all our youngsters, old adults, I think, to participate in this great cause and learn a lot and hopefully spread the knowledge. Thank you.
Hey guys, good afternoon. This is Amir Gaffer, that's me, a charter member of Open Chicago. I'm here at the annual event. Anybody that is not here is really missing out a great opportunity. If you're an entrepreneur, looking to be an entrepreneur, a professional looking for the next stage in your career, this is the right forum to be. We had great speakers, great innovators, scientists, and you should really look out into your network and be here next year, which I believe will be at the same venue or close by. Ciao.
Hi everyone, my name is Mahmood Majid and I'm a charter member of Open Chicago. I just came out of after facilitating the Ignite 2019 event, and I must tell you it was just a fascinating event, not just to facilitate for me, but also to see the energy and excitement all from the presenters and as well as from the audience. Actually, I just started Open this year. Last year I came here, I saw the event and I loved it. And I loved it so much that I actually was approached by the president of Open and I joined them, and here I was facilitating. It was a fascinating event. All of you who are just watching me, please come to the Open event and visit our website at openchicago.com.
Hi, this is Naved Abdi. I'm the ex-president of Open Chicago and now the CEO of Sleep Live Well. 2019 annual conference has been absolutely fantastic. Riveting speakers, everybody from Mahmood Khan to the Women's Council. It was just an absolute one incredible panel after the other. And for those of you who have missed it, you need to be here next year. This is the event that puts Open Chicago on the map. This is an event that is good as any entrepreneurial event in the city of Chicago. And it provides a lot of value. If you're a student, you get access to mentors. If you're a professional, you get access and exposure to some of the best minds in America coming to speak here. If you're an entrepreneur, you have access to venture capitalists, angel investors. Wherever you're coming from, this is the network that brings the community together as a platform. The reason that I helped found this chapter was because I came here, and a lot of us came here, we're individually successful. But the sad story of Pakistan today is that while many of us are individually successful, collectively the country is where it is because we fail to collaborate and build platforms. And Open provides that platform for our community in Chicago, for our network of entrepreneurs, for professionals, for students, so that each one of us has an opportunity to get to the next level. And I find that value myself in this network. It's incredible the amount of stuff that I've learned and gained, and I hope to invite you to join us next year.
Hi, my name is Annie Hashmi. I'm joining you from Chicago. Open Chicago 2019 Ignite event. Today was riveting. We had the ex-CIO of Pepsi, Mahmood Khan, give us the keynote address. We had an amazing women panel. After that, we had an amazing pitch forum where quite a few entrepreneurs came and presented their ideas, their services, and businesses. This is an amazing platform for students, for entrepreneurs, and businesses to come together as a community to learn, to grow. If you missed us this year, definitely come here next year, register, bring your friends, bring your kids. See you guys next year.
My name is Amna Shah. I am the CEO and founder of AHS Consulting and iCard. Today, I was a mentor at the Open Chicago 2019 annual conference, and as always, it doesn't fail to surprise and amaze us how many people are from the international diaspora, especially Pakistan, they come to this conference and we don't even know about these people and what they're doing. They're the movers and shakers of our economy here and abroad. And we get to learn about them from their experiences, and it doesn't fail to inspire us to write our own story, which is all of us that's what we're doing. We're hustling every day. So if you miss this conference, be sure to join us next year. It's always an action-packed 5 to 8 hours that you can spend here, and they're probably well utilized 8 hours. Thank you.
Eric Iverson, if you could stand
please
up.
Stand. Thank you.
I wanted to acknowledge Eric because honestly, without his partnership, his vision, and our, honestly, skills and tenaciousness and vision for what we want for our patients, we're now able to do this, innovate in this space.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Syed. So essentially, one of the themes we are getting is that the cost of care is too high. The most expensive spot is the hospital, and I'm just simplifying into plain English. So the government and the insurance say, don't go to the hospital because it's too expensive. We can't afford it. Well, you're sick. You have to go. Okay, try and manage him outside. And if he went in, get him out fast. And once he leaves, he better not come back. If he comes back, we'll put penalty on the hospital. That's what they call the rebound, readmission thing. Now we will go after whoever sent him back. I mean, it's pretty cutthroat. So some of the initiatives that you all talk about is each one of you innovating in that space outside the hospital and improving the level of care, the level of communication, the level of incorporation of technology from the hospital or otherwise through data and through other back-end supports and through your kiosks, where you're just handling these people outside. And one of the casual joke I always make is that eventually we'll have, open heart surgeries happening in an ice cream truck. It'll just show up to the house and they'll take you in, do the surgery, and take you back home, and they'll say length of stay 0 for the hospital. So in any event, thank you. Dr. Syed, you had a video you wanted me to, can we play that? Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Aston, can you play the first one? This is the
Robotic Hospital, part of Northwestern Medicine, stands as a leader in providing the most innovative rehabilitation solutions available, delivered with a compassionate and caring spirit. This tradition of integrating technology and hands-on care continues with the addition of the TELLabs Center for Neurorehabilitation and Neuroplasticity. The TELLabs Center supports a wide range of patient conditions, including stroke, brain injury, neuromuscular disorders, and other conditions which benefit from lasting changes in the brain derived through repetition. This clinical approach recognizes the neuroplastic nature of the human brain, which allows it to be rewired to compensate for lost or damaged function.
Neuroplasticity is when the brain creates new connections around the area of injury that may have occurred from a stroke or a traumatic brain injury or even a non-traumatic brain injury. The TELLabs Center will help improve patient outcomes by facilitating neuroplasticity with our patients, improving their functional outcome, and ultimately driving their quality of life.
This latest evolution of care at Marion Joy was made possible by the generous support of the TELLabs Foundation and the commitment to innovation of Michael Burke, the late co-founder of TELLabs.
Mike always believed in giving back to the community, to the schools, and to the hospitals that would help people. He was a big giver back.
I think anything that had an impact on his life or his family's life, he was more than willing to help further their causes. For the TELLabs Foundation, our thought process was, what are those organizations that our employees use? And as I have mentioned, my mom unfortunately was here at Marion Joy after her stroke. A recent CEO was here after he had an aneurysm. So Marion Joy has done well for our employees and their families, and we want to make sure that we give back.
Clinicians and therapists working in the TELLabs Center will challenge long-established rehabilitation practices through the incorporation of virtual reality, robotics, assistive devices, and a wide variety of interactive computer applications, creating opportunities for research and the identification of best practices, which can be shared more broadly across the rehabilitation industry.
As a rehabilitation physician, we're always looking for the latest technology, cutting-edge developments in rehab to give to our patients to allow them to recover. We are grateful to the TELLabs Foundation for this opportunity.
At Marion Joy, we recognize the promise innovation offers our patients, while remaining grounded in the knowledge and belief that the most effective treatment comes from the guidance of clinicians who truly care for those they serve. This philosophy drives us forward as we treat those who entrust us with their care. the TELLAB Center for Neurorehabilitation and Neuroplasticity at Marienjoy, providing exceptional, innovative physical rehabilitation with a compassionate and caring spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Syed. So I will conclude this piece with a simple interpretation. So as patients are pushed out early out of the hospitals who need this kind of service and care, who's going to step up and offer it to them in post-acute, what we call, which is outside the hospital? And in that spirit, Chestnut as a medical group was very interested in incorporating this, but this is a humongous investment. And that is where there's a company by the name Legacy Healthcare, which is arguably the largest, the most dynamic post-acute healthcare company. They own the most elite rehabilitation units, which is nursing homes, all over Chicagoland and now in numerous states that I can't keep up with. They were the ones who stepped up. And there was an individual in that company who stepped up, who took the risk with his CFO and invested in this technology and introduced it in the post-acute setting. And that is why we thank Eric again. Eric Iverson was the individual who took that step. And right now, Chestnut and Legacy are partnering up to render this, its utilization and its understanding and its knowledge to the patients in the post-acute setting, so that the goals of Medicare are met, the cost remains low, the patient still doesn't go back to the hospital, but in the post-acute setting, we're modernized and we're still offering the same level of care. So anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to open the floor for some questions and answers. Please, if volunteers could facilitate us. We encourage any number of questions, but please keep it specific to which panelist so that
we have this amazing technology, we have this data mining, we're looking at, we're getting the oil, we have all this information, now we have kiosks. It's a broad question, but how do we put it all together? Who's going to manage this? We have to have not only the clinical team, the providers themselves, or some back end, but who's ultimately, we're looking out for the patients, we're looking out for ourselves, who's ultimately going to oversee that? How do we combine all of these forces together and achieve those outcomes so CMS and the governing bodies are happy?
Group and have a whole IT support, care management support, and we look at various things, not just taking care of the patient when they're in the office, but also outside the office. So we have care management. We also, have interfaces with various health systems. So the biggest problem which we had, for example, is for our providers, when a patient gets admitted to a hospital, my provider would not know that this patient was admitted to the hospital. And when they get discharged from the hospital, they won't know that they are discharged from the hospital, so they go home. And after about 7 or 10 days, they decompensate. And within the first 14 days, the decompensation is very high. And they end up back in the ER and they get readmitted. So I think what we have done is we have built partnerships with health system. For example, in Maryland, there's a software called CRISP. Through that, it's a health information exchange system. Similarly, in Virginia, we have that. In all over the states where we are operating, we are developing those interfaces where we are able to get that. So we get information. If a patient lands in an ER, that is my patient, I get the live information within minutes that my patient has landed in the ER, and as soon as they get discharged, I get a prompt in my EMR, not separately, but right in the patient chart, I get a prompt that this patient is now discharged from the hospital. So we have developed systems where my staff is then calling them and bring them into the office before it's too late.
Sure. Thank you. Eric Iverson?
You know, I think it's a two-part question. Sure. One of them is, are physicians these days being trained on data analytics? And then the second part of my question is there a real fear that that the data bubble is potentially going to burst one day? Because the one thing that I'm seeing, at least, and again, outside in healthcare, but more on business side, is, I'm afraid people are going to lose their ability to have good instincts about things because we rely so heavily on the data. How do you sort of deal with that issue on knowing what you're looking at, making decisions on what you're looking at, and then maintaining your instincts about healthcare in general, I guess, is my question. if that
Bilal,
makes
you want
sense.
to take this?
So, Eric, I think physicians don't understand data. We have been collecting data for many, many years, but we never realized who were we collecting it for until all these big terms came out. So I believe that you have to let technology do what's good at. Let the machines do their job and let physicians do what they are good at, which is the compassionate care. There is some discrepancy between them, and I hope that we are able to bring that together. And so that's how I see data is important. The bubble part is, I don't think that there would be a data bubble. It's just that it needs to land in the right hands. Currently, from what Umair had shown, we haven't asked the most important question. If we have all these technologies, why did the healthcare went from 3.6 trillion to 4 trillion to 6 trillion? Why didn't all this technology brought the costs down? Why hospital gets paid for the same service 10 times more than outpatient facility? I think that's where I think data is going to help answer the question. The key would be the CEOs sitting in this room that have 20, 50, 80 employees and they are paying that bill. The data has to be transparent to them. What are they paying for? Right. Who's taking what? And I think that's where we're going to be able to make a meaningful impact.
Right. And I think that's a very good point because, again, while we're discussing healthcare, it's really about entrepreneurship. And I would pick up on that point from Bilal that, as we suggested, entrepreneurship is the idea of identifying a problem, an inefficiency, a wastage, or an existing system that seems optimized but that can be enhanced through technology, through knowledge, through information, data, technique, and so on. And I think the hint here is from Bilal's standpoint, because I'm familiar with his model, that the amount that more than 50% of Americans are insured by employers. And the cost that the employer incurs for the insurance coverage, the healthcare coverage of their employees in large corporates is at least not optimized, if not ridiculously inflated by the healthcare provider. Is it the insurance agency? Is it the hospital? Is it the clinic? And there are a lot of layers and entities and parties involved, and it's in double-digit % inflation. And if I may say, Bilal, your venture has very innovatively identified those wastages and kind of cut those out and clean it up a little bit. And it's created tremendous amount of value for the health system because it's dropped the costs down of the exact same care for those employers in those situations where you've intervened. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Sure. And I think just like any other bill, a patient, a employer, somebody should be able to read that bill.
Correct.
Today, I can give it to one of the smartest guys and they would get lost in that healthcare bill because that's the whole point of the healthcare industry, that you cannot understand it.
Right. Was there any one trait that each one of you would highlight to the team in your entrepreneurial journey, the single one characteristic that a man or a woman should have in order to succeed, in your opinions? Bilal. One characteristic that to you is at the heart that you ought to have to succeed as an entrepreneur, as a leader.
I think you have to have, and
One.
I'm sure it's pretty common, the passion about doing something.
Okay.
Passion of making a difference.
Okay. Anju?
I'd say it's tenacity, the stick-to-itiveness, to have a vision, to have a true north, and a compass to drive.
Okay. Khan?
It's the attitude of, I don't know, but I'll look it up.
Okay. Constant learning.
Oh, this mine is last, I guess. I think one of the most important ones I feel is to listen. Is the ability as a leader to listen to others and understand, and then understand that there are leaders among the other group too, who you can use in certain areas, and you don't have the capability to achieve those targets without using and partnering with them.
You spoke like a successful primary care. You know? Any other questions, guys? Yes, please.
$60 billion in fraud.
Right.
Do we have anyone looking into systems that reduce that fraud? And the question is, where does that fraud begin? Does that fraud begin with physicians themselves? Does that fraud begin with insurance providers? Where are those identified? And is anyone in the healthcare sector looking at simply reducing the $60 billion of fraud?
Yes, so there was a line that said that they recovered 2.6 billion out of the 60. Probably I don't have the answer, or nobody has the answer to all of that, what you asked. But I'll just touch upon what I'm familiar with, since we're a bit tight on time. So without going to specifics, the OIG, Office of Inspector General, if you ever went to Google and read OIG, that's the government's premier body that looks into this, and that is they have the technology, they have the law enforcement capabilities and authority, they have the FBI and so on. They do tremendous amount of fraud and abuse prevention in work all over the country. They have tons and tons of data where they've identified, they educate us on this as providers. They've identified where fraud is high. They have Obama sting operations. They have had raids. They have made arrests. I would say tens and thousands of people, healthcare providers, are in jail today for fraud. This is a serious initiative by the Obamacare, and they have made a ridiculous amount of gains, but the statistic still is, not so good. Okay, so if there are no other questions, then on that note, suggest that I should wrap up. So I'd like to say thank you to our panelists. A round of applause to all of them, and you all for joining us.
All right, different experiences. And as we spoke about the connection that groups like this have between diaspora groups and home country, there's been a resurgence in the interest of people wanting to go back to the homeland and give more of their time. So we had our own example here. Our own charter member, Rizwan Mir, who many of you know, he had the opportunity to go and serve as a CEO in Pakistan for 3 years. So I said, why don't you come and share with the group in a few minutes what you learn, and perhaps that may trigger some interest and questions for others. So this is meant as a very quick synopsis, I guess, Rizwan, of your experience in Pakistan. Come on over, please. Give him a round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity, for allowing me to share my experiences. So about 2.5 years ago, I just was sent over through WhatsApp a snippet of an ad from the newspaper. I don't think it'll work because it's a PDF. Yep. Okay. So it just said they're looking for a chief executive officer for a company called Universal Service Fund. This fund is, interestingly, one of the largest technology funds in Pakistan, in excess of about $500 million or 80 billion rupees. And it is, so there was quite a few things new with this. This is with the Ministry of IT and Telecom, so it's a public sector job. It is in an Asian Pacific country, and it is not a private sector job. So I have a background in telecom. I looked up the ad. It felt interesting. There was an email address. I sent my resume. And then I got an email for a Skype interview. So the board of directors picked my resume, and they just did an interview. And I thought that was the end of it, because I was sitting here, and they were sitting in Islamabad interviewing me. And interestingly, I got another email for a second interview. And a month later, I was told that I had been selected. So I thought there's something wrong with this. How can you get an expat CEO role in a country over 2 Skype interviews? So something fishy. So I approached the board and I said, do you think you really want me? Do you want me to come? Don't you want me to come over and do a face-to-face interview? I mean, it's a huge job. It's a big fund. They said, no, we have made our decision. So I think the first thing that convinced me that this was the step in the right direction was the fact the process was very transparent. I mean, I didn't know anyone. I had not contacted anyone. And the fact that they found that I could do the job helped me convince that it was worth a shot. Obviously, the offer and negotiation process, then it took them 1 year to make the offer. Took a long time. It was a very painful and kind of unsettling wait. I had second thoughts. So I think one of the things that I learned from this process is in public sector, the scrutiny of the candidate goes way beyond the private sector. And this, by the very nature of the job, whether it's in any country, when a government of a certain country puts their faith and trust in you, they really want to make sure that you are the right person, the background checks, the seriousness of your purpose to get that job. So the top 3 challenges, I'm going to start for the bottom one, is stakeholder management. Stakeholder management for any leadership role is very critical. And in the case of a public sector, first of all, you have a board of directors. So on one side, you have the Minister of IT and Telecom. It used to be Anusha Rahman, if you know her from those days. And then later on, Khalid Maqbool Siddiqui. He was also the head of one of the largest parties in Pakistan, MQM. And he openly said, I don't understand what IT and Telecom means, but they put me as a minister. And at least he acknowledged that he doesn't understand, but he would rely on experts. We had the top bureaucrat, the Minister of IT and the Secretary of IT and Telecom on the board, and then we had a couple of CEOs. So when I did my first presentation, I was feeling the small guy in the room to the board of directors. So rising up to the challenge to a public sector board is a big, big challenge. Second thing is the ways of working. So I was used on working in a private environment here in the US, going abroad, working in a public sector environment with a bureaucracy is very different. So managing that was a challenge. And the third thing is obviously the deliverable. I mean, when I was thinking of taking the job, spending money I thought was easy. But spending money under the nose of National Accountability Bureau, in front of MNAs, MPAs. I mean, every 3 weeks they would call us and say, you guys don't know what you're doing. You have so much money sitting. Why are you not spending it? If you spend it, there's a lot of corruption. We'll give your name to the National Accountability Bureau. And the first time I got into that session, I was like, what I'm into is myself. But then later on, people told me, they'll calm down, just take it easy. So I think the third challenge was and the fourth, I would say, this was an expat role, so I was away from my family. So whenever you take an expat role, make sure you calculate the toll it will take, on you as a person and your family. So this is one of the big sacrifices when you do an expat assignment. Next. Okay, hold on. So, in order to deliver in such an environment, you have to make a lot of adjustments. I'll share an interesting story with you. When I went and introduced myself to the top bureaucrat, we met and we had tea together. And he asked me all the things about nothing related to work. And I sat with him for 15 minutes, and then I said, okay, maybe that's it. I shook his hand and I left. And later on, I found out he was very upset with me because he was about to get to the real topic of discussion that was all about my job. So, adjusting to a new culture, adjusting to the norms is extremely important in these roles. Second adjustment I made was, not to be too blunt. So I would say no to certain things that were not appropriate. And I was told that the way to do it is say, let me get back to you. And this is extremely important not to hurt the egos of a certain powerful board of directors that's sitting you and asking you to do things. The way you manage the skills of soft handling that board is very important. So I think what was accomplished was I was able to make a difference. So that is my final lesson. If you get a role with a public sector organization, the impact you can create is just tremendous. Because one small thing, one small policy impacts millions. So for instance, I was able to work and convince the board and the CEOs that we should have a major broadband program across Pakistan. And we were able to deliver on that program. And then finally, 18 months spent over there. It was a great experience, a lot of learnings, friendships, contacts. That's another thing. Whenever you go expat, you do an assignment, you take a leadership, you develop roots in that country, especially if it's Pakistan, obviously your home. I'm here. If you have any further questions about my experience, I'd love to answer them. Thank you.
Hear me? All right. So we are almost to the end. Just give me 2 more minutes. So I do want to recap a little bit, especially on the mentorship program. So good news, we had 16 people who asked to be menteed. So that was good. We had 3 hours of mentorship. The 3 main topics for mentorship were AI, strategy consulting, and healthcare. So for obvious reasons, as you saw, we had quite a few people on the healthcare side. We do want to let everybody know that we are still going to be open to mentorship, so the same mentors are giving their time. If somebody didn't get a chance today or somebody afterwards, all they need to do is to send an email to info@open.chicago.org, and they can help connect with the mentors. In the subject line, if they can just put down mentoring area of intent. So this way we would know that that's what they're interested in. At this time, can I please ask the executive team to please come up? Don't be shy. I know the executive team doesn't like to be in the limelight. Rosa, come on up. Khalid, Babar, Hassan, Muzammil. Who else am I missing? All my volunteers. Haris, can you please join us as well? Faisal, come on up. Before I take a final picture, I'm going to ask Haris to just say a closing word.
I think everything has been said. I hope one of the things that I said in social media a few days ago was we are so confident of the program we put together that if you don't find value, come see me and we'll either refund your ticket or get you a gratis one for next year. No one's come to me, so I think that's a good sign that they found value during the day. It's a long day, it's a day of commitment, but I want to thank you for wanting to be here. I mean, you could have been in so many different places, but you probably felt that this would be something that would be good for your own learning, your own growth, and your own reflection. And I know that it asks for a lot in the times that we live, but this only happens because individuals like this, and I cannot even tell you, if you value the man and woman hours that went into putting this program together, which, by the way, none of us get a single cent. In fact, is delusory because it takes us away from other sources of income. But we do this because there's a promise that this would help the community in more ways than one, here and back home, and I think that's what drives it. So just join me in thanking them. And none of this happens, we talk about leadership, none of this happens unless there's a strong leader in the midst. And I don't even have the words to express my gratitude from the organization and as a board member of Open Global, what Amir Chalisa has done as the leader of this band of merry men and women. So please join me in thanking them. So folks, I think that's a wrap. I think we're having networking, I guess, for you guys, but I think from a formal standpoint, Amir, that closes the conference? It does, good. So stick around and hang out if you can and join in the conversation. Thank you.
My name is Amir Chalisa. I'm president of Open Chicago, and it's been a great day here at Open Chicago. We just concluded our 4th annual conference. It was a great conference. We had Dr. Mahmood Khan here. We had a healthcare panel. We had people from Department of State. We had U.S.-Pakistan Women's Council, and we had just an all-over absolutely amazing conference. We had a lot of sponsors, we had a lot of organizations, and if you missed this event, hopefully you can catch up on this through some of the videos and some of the recordings we have done. It has been an absolutely amazing opportunity to be at Open Chicago. as the president of Open Chicago, I am pleased to tell you that this is an organization that allows you to do absolutely wonderful things. It gives you that opportunity to network, it gives you that opportunity to be inspired, and it gives you that opportunity to learn. So if you did miss it, again, please watch for clips from the conference, and hopefully next year we'll see you all. If you want to find out more about us and you want to become a charter member, or you want to volunteer, or you want to become an executive member, just go to our website, which is www.open-chicago.org. Again, thank you so much. I look forward to